You know, when you think about getting a new coworker, you usually picture someone who, I don't know, types a little too loudly or like always leaves their dirty coffee mug in the break room sink.
Right, yeah, they,
Okay.
they occupy a physical space.
Exactly. You can see them, you interact with them.
You can read their body language during a meeting, gauge their mood. You have a tangible sense of their role in your day-to-day life.
But consider what happens when your most influential coworker, like the one who is actually making life or death decisions or shaping the daily news you read.
Or deciding whether you get approved for a mortgage.
Yeah, exactly. What if that coworker has no desk at all, like no physical presence? What if they are entirely invisible?
Well, that invisible coworker is the reality we've rapidly transitioned into. We are no longer just picking up software like a hammer or a calculator.
Right.
We are actively working alongside algorithms that make autonomous choices.
Yeah.
It's a complete paradigm shift in how human beings operate.
Okay. So, welcome to this deep dive. Today, we have a very specific stack of notes from an AI News Daily Digest dated August 28th, 2026.
A very thorough digest, I might add.
It really is. And our mission here is simple. We just want to cut through the endless, deafening noise of AI hype. We aren't looking at science fiction, and we aren't looking at what might happen, 50 years from now.
Right, we're looking at the present.
Yeah. We are examining exactly how artificial intelligence is currently acting as an active collaborator in our daily lives. So we're looking at healthcare, the creative arts, journalism, and the ethical guardrails required to manage all of it.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with where AI has the most immediate, visceral impact on human life, which is our physical and mental well-being.
It makes total sense to begin there because the stakes literally could not be higher. The digest points out that hospitals globally are deploying AI to predict patient deterioration.
Wow, predict it. Yeah, and to optimize treatment plans. They're using these algorithms to assist in surgical procedures by analyzing electronic health records, or EHRs, alongside real-time monitoring systems.
I was reading through the section and trying to picture how it actually functions on the floor of a really chaotic, busy hospital. And the best analogy I could come up with is having a superhuman triage nurse.
Oh, I like that.
Like, imagine an assistant that has instantly read every single medical file in the building, never needs to sleep, never needs a coffee break, and is simultaneously analyzing invisible data trends in real time.
Right.
It's looking at the tiny microscopic fluctuations in a patient's oxygen levels or their heart rate variability that a human eye simply might not catch until an alarm actually goes off.
What's fascinating here is the fundamental shift in the philosophy of care. Because for the entirety of human history, medicine has primarily been reactive.
Right, you get sick, you go to the doctor.
Exactly. A patient presents with a symptom, like a sudden fever, a dangerous drop in blood pressure, or a ruptured appendix, and the medical team scrambles to react and fix it. But the AI shifts that paradigm entirely.
By looking at the data.
Right. By cross-referencing oceans of historical data with the patient's real-time vital signs, medicine becomes proactive.
So instead of waiting for the monitor to flatline, the AI is looking at the past, a million patients who flatlined and finding the subtle breadcrumbs they all left beforehand.
That is the core mechanism, yeah. The machine processes variables that seem entirely disconnected to a human clinician.
Huh.
It might notice that a specific combination of a slight temperature increase, a minor drop in white blood cell count, and a tiny change in respiratory rate historically leads to sepsis within 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The machine flags the patient and basically says, based on these 50 subtle indicators, this person's going to crash. It buys doctors the most valuable, irreplaceable resource in a hospital setting, which is time.
Time to intervene before the crisis actually happens. That is just incredible. But the digest also talks about AI moving beyond the physical body and into mental health. And I have to admit, I have some heavy pushback here.
I suspect we are looking at the exact same section. The source mentions AI-powered chatbots providing round-the-clock mental health support.
Yes. And is there not a massive glaring paradox in pouring your heart out to an emotionless algorithm?
It's definitely a controversial application.
Right, because when you are in a mental health crisis, you are desperately looking for human connection. How do we reconcile the sheer accessibility of a 24/7 bot with the fundamental human need for actual empathy?
Yeah, it's tough.
It just feels deeply dystopian to text a machine that you're feeling overwhelmingly sad, and it replies with a perfectly calculated, mathematically generated response of comfort. Like, it doesn't actually feel anything for you.
Well, your discomfort is completely valid, and it strikes at the core friction of this technology. To understand what is actually happening, we have to look at the mechanism, which is something called natural language processing, or NLP.
Okay.
When you text that bot, you're right. It isn't experiencing empathy. It is mathematically analyzing your sentence, breaking it down into tokens, and calculating the statistically most probable, comforting response based on millions of hours of human conversation it was trained on.
Wow.
It is essentially high-level statistics predicting the next best word.
So it's basically doing incredibly advanced autocomplete, but tailoring it to sound like a therapist.
That is a fair way to summarize it, yeah.
Yeah.
However, to synthesize what the source material is highlighting, we have to look at the grim reality of global healthcare resources.
Right.
The digest explicitly includes a vital caveat here. These NLP bots are not designed, nor should they be used, as a replacement for professional human therapy. They are positioned as an accessible first step.
A first step, because I guess the alternative isn't a highly trained human therapist sitting in a comfortable office. The alternative is absolute silence.
That is the tragic reality for millions. If you live in a resource-scarce region, or if it's 3:00 a.m. on a Tuesday and you are spiraling into a panic attack,
Good luck finding someone awake.
exactly, finding a human professional is nearly impossible. Wait lists can be 6 to 8 months long. These NLP chatbots can engage in immediate conversation, help de-escalate acute panic using cognitive behavioral frameworks, and suggest local resources.
Yeah.
They are bridging a massive, gaping hole in the healthcare system. The machine cannot provide genuine human empathy, but it can provide immediate structured triage when the human system is completely overloaded.
So it's not replacing the doctor, it's more like holding the flashlight and talking you through the dark until the doctor can finally get there.
Precisely.
And thinking about a machine generating comforting words based on math kind of leads us into some fascinating territory. We move from AI keeping us physically and mentally afloat to AI encroaching on what makes us uniquely human, our creativity, our art, and our storytelling.
Yeah, the digest highlights a recent high-profile project where an AI system collaborated with human musicians to compose a full symphony.
A symphony.
Yeah, it blended digital precision with human emotion. We're also seeing AI visual tools generating unique artworks and combining techniques that the source describes as previously unimaginable.
It's wild because music feels so entirely rooted in human emotion. But when you look under the hood, music is also highly mathematical, right? It's tempo, pitch, rhythm, frequencies, harmonics.
Oh, absolutely.
So I imagine the AI is incredibly good at the mathematical part of composing, like structuring the chords perfectly, organizing the time signatures, while the human musician steps in to inject the soul.
Right, deciding when the strings should swell to actually make the audience feel something.
Exactly.
Well, this raises an important question. In
Mhm.
the end, the central debate the source material flags is AI a tool that enhances human creativity, or is it a rival threatening to replace it entirely?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because when a machine can mathematically generate a visually stunning, perfectly composed digital painting in 5 seconds, what happens to the human who spent 20 arduous years mastering the physical brush?
You know, it reminds me of the historical panic when the camera was invented.
Oh, yeah.
Painters in the 19th century thought, well, that's it. Art is dead. We can pack it up. A machine can capture reality instantly and flawlessly.
Right.
But instead of killing art, it freed painters from the burden of merely documenting reality. It led to Impressionism, Cubism, abstract art. It forced humans to find a new way to express their internal landscape that a mechanical lens couldn't possibly replicate.
That's a fantastic historical parallel. The camera forced a redefinition of what it meant to be an artist. And we are seeing a very similar dynamic play out in journalism, which the digest covers extensively.
Yeah, right. The newsroom changes.
Yeah, news organizations are leveraging AI to automate routine reporting tasks, sifting through massive data sets for patterns, and actually writing basic news reports.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I love thinking about AI in a modern newsroom, like a sous chef in a high-end Michelin star kitchen.
Okay, I'm tracking.
The AI is the sous chef. It is in the back, chopping 50 pounds of onions, peeling the potatoes, and simmering the stock. Its AI is doing the tedious, incredibly time-consuming work.
So what does that look like in a journalistic context?
It looks like reading through a 1,000-page city council budget to find a single anomaly. Or, writing the routine, formulaic summary of a local high school sports game. The AI does the prep work.
To expand on your sous chef analogy, The mechanism the AI uses for that prep work is pattern recognition.
Okay.
Unlike a human reporter who has to read a 1,000-page budget line by line, the AI converts all that text into means of data points. It doesn't read the way we read, it looks for statistical deviations.
Right, the anomalies.
Yeah. If the city spent $50,000 on road salt every year for a decade, and this year it spent $500,000, the AI flags that anomaly in seconds.
And because the digital sous chef is handling that massive data prep, it frees up the head chef, the human journalist, to step in and create the complex dish.
Exact.
The human can take that flagged anomaly, go out into the street, interview the city council members, read their defensive body language, uncover the corruption, and write the deep, emotionally resonant, investigative story that a machine simply cannot comprehend. The machine finds the what, but the human investigates the why.
That is the ideal synergy. However, the source notes that there is severe palpable fear regarding job losses in these industries,
Sure.
because efficiency often translates directly to downsizing in corporate structures. If one journalist with an AI assistant can do the work of 5 traditional reporters, management might simply fire the other 4.
Yeah, the bottom line.
The tension in newsrooms and in recording studios is real. The ultimate goal, as the Digest points out for both music and journalism, is finding the right balance, pairing human insight with AI efficiency. But getting to that balance is proving to be a highly turbulent, messy process.
So we've established that this invisible coworker is predicting when we might suffer a medical emergency. It's co-writing the music we listen to, and it's sifting through the data to draft the news we consume to understand our world.
It's everywhere.
And that raises the immediate glaring question, who is holding the machine accountable?
The ethical bedrock. The Digest explicitly calls out the evolving complex challenges related to privacy, bias, and accountability. And it highlights 2 specific areas where the stakes are astronomically high: law enforcement and finance.
Because in those areas, a computer making an error doesn't just result in a weird sounding chord in a symphony or a clunky sentence in an article.
Right.
It means someone gets unjustly denied a mortgage they worked their whole life for, or infinitely worse, someone gets falsely identified as a criminal by an algorithm.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look under the hood at how an AI actually learns to make decisions.
Okay.
It learns exclusively from historical data. Let's look at the financial sector. If you feed an AI 50 years of historical mortgage data to train it on who makes a quote-unquote good loan candidate, you are also feeding it decades of human bias.
Because human history is, well, full of bias.
Exactly. Consider the practice of redlining in the United States. For decades, banks and government agencies literally drew red lines on maps around certain neighborhoods.
Often based on race or immigrant status.
Yes,
Yeah.
and systematically denied loans to anyone living there,
Uh-huh.
regardless of their personal creditworthiness. That practice created generations of wealth disparity.
Right.
If you dump that historical data into an AI, the machine doesn't have a moral compass to recognize that the data is the result of discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
It just sees a mathematical pattern. People from these zip codes historically do not get loans, so it continues to deny them.
Wow, so it's just algorithmic reflection. The machine acts as a giant mirror, holding up our past historical flaws and scaling them up at lightning speed, all under the guise of objective mathematics.
And that illusion of objectivity is what makes it so dangerous. The same mechanism applies to predictive policing models in law enforcement.
Oh, I can imagine.
If historical arrest data reflects heavy policing in specific neighborhoods, the AI predicts more crime will happen there. So, sending more police, resulting in more arrests, which feeds back into the algorithm, creating a self-fulfilling loop of bias.
Which makes the ongoing discussions by tech companies and policymakers regarding the need for robust regulations so incredibly critical.
Absolutely.
The Digest points out a desperate need for transparent frameworks.
Transparency isn't just a technical requirement so engineers can debug their code. It is a fundamental societal imperative. And this brings us to the black box problem.
I've seen that term everywhere.
Yeah.
What exactly makes an AI a black box?
It has to do with how deep learning neural networks function. Unlike old software, where a human programmer wrote, if X happens, do Y, modern AI creates its own pathways.
Okay.
It processes millions of variables through millions of microscopic invisible connections, nodes that act roughly like neurons in a human brain.
Like actual brain synapses.
Sort of, yeah. The machine adjusts the weight of these connections through trial and error until it gets the right answer. But the resulting web of logic is so unimaginably complex that even the engineers who built the AI cannot look inside and explain the exact path it took to arrive at a specific decision.
Wait, really?
Yeah, data goes in, a decision comes out, and the middle is a black box.
That is terrifying when applied to something like criminal justice. If a machine denies you a loan or flags you as a risk in a security system, you have a fundamental right to know why that decision was made.
Right.
If the engineers themselves can't explain it, how can we possibly deploy it?
That is the exact debate policymakers are having right now. Deploying a black box in a low-stakes environment like, say, movie recommendations is fine.
Sure.
Deploying it in high-stakes environments where human freedom or economic survival is on the line is unacceptable to many ethicists and regulators.
So what does this all mean for the everyday listener tuning in right now? Someone who isn't a software coder, isn't a government policymaker, but is simply trying to navigate a world where they might be subject to an AI credit check or an algorithm aggressively filtering their resume before a human recruiter even sees it. How should we interact with these invisible decision makers?
The most important takeaway for the listener is to recognize your own stake in this vast ecosystem. We're all, quite literally, the data points fueling these systems.
Right.
Our health records, our reading habits, our financial histories, our geographic movements, they are the raw material. Staying informed, as we are doing by breaking down this digest today, is your best defense.
Asking questions.
Exactly. It allows you to question algorithmic decisions rather than just accepting them as infallible objective truth.
Yeah.
An informed, vocal public is the only mechanism that can effectively demand fair regulations and transparent frameworks from the entities deploying these models.
We have to stop assuming that just because a computer spat out a result, it must be flawlessly logical. We have to treat the AI with the same healthy, rigorous skepticism we would apply to a human being who has a vested interest.
The AI is merely a reflection of its human creators and its flawed human data. It is powerful, but it is deeply fallible.
This has been a fascinating journey through the August 28th Digest. To bring it all together, the central theme is clear. AI isn't just some futuristic, abstract concept looming on the distant horizon.
No, it's here now.
It is a current, active, invisible coworker operating right next to us. It is proactively predicting our health outcomes before we even feel a symptom. It is managing the mathematical framework of the symphonies we listen to. It acting as a sous chef to draft the news we read. And it's quietly auditing our finances and our neighborhoods. It is interwoven into the fabric of our daily routine.
It is undeniably the defining technological integration of our time.
But before we go, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. Something to chew on today that builds on exactly what we've been talking about with these AI chatbots and AI-generated news reports.
Okay.
We've discussed AI taking over the basic news reporting, the digital sous chef chopping the onions and finding the anomalies. And we've also discussed humans having deep conversational interactions with AI chatbots that use natural language processing to synthesize information.
Right.
But what happens in the very near future when you ask your personal AI chatbot to explain the complex news of the day to you? And the news article it's summarizing was entirely written, from start to finish, by another AI reporter.
You end up with an endless loop. Algorithms talking exclusively to algorithms, with human beings merely consuming the output.
If the machines are both writing the story of our world and then translating that story for us to consume, where exactly does the genuine human perspective fit into that loop? Who is actually shaping your reality? Is it the invisible coworker at the desk next to you, or have we accidentally handed them the keys to the entire building? Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. It's a massive amount of information to process, but staying curious and asking these hard questions is exactly how we keep the human element alive in all of this. Take care of yourselves out there.